Buenos dias, Will. Thank you for joining us today at Business Spotlight series.
Hello, good morning.
So today I'm very excited to introduce Wil Fleeson, founder, CEO of Trichology Scotland. Trichology are recognized leaders in the diagnosis and treatment of hair loss and scalp conditions for all hair types. Wow. So, Will, I am very excited to learn a little bit more of what you do and for how long you've been doing it.
Okay, well, look, first of all, thanks very much for inviting me. Great to meet you today. Trichologist, as you just said, we specialize in scalp and hair concerns. It's been an industry that I've been in now for nearly 10 years, but I've been in the hair industry for, 30 years, working through different salons, etc. Then about the mid-90s, 1996, I arrived from England into Glasgow, coming to work for a company called Rainbow Room International. And I worked my way through that company, eventually becoming one of the board of directors and the salon owner, which is great. And I love that. As I aged as a stylist, my clients started to ask me different questions about the hair of the scalp. And what became really sort of clear was they were not understanding why the hair density might be changes. And I didn't have the answers. So I started to study trichology. So I studied this for about 2 years. This is the science of hair loss and scalp disease. And after 2 years, I graduated, and that I saw that there was a gap in the market in Scotland at that time, because when I was going through this, all my clients were asking me, what is a trichologist? And when I explained to them, they're like, oh my God, I know somebody that should come and see you. So, and when I looked around, I could see there was very few actual clinics with a qualified trichologist. And in 2017, I opened Trichology Scotland, and it's just grown since then. And that was fantastic. And what we do is we meet people and diagnose the actual condition that might be affecting the hair and the scalp and what they can do about it. And that's what I do now.
Brilliant. So, I mean, I am a lay person in your industry. What does trichology mean?
So any ology is a science, and trichology is the specific science of hair and scalp. So we study pathology, we study, physiology, and we study the dynamics of the skin. So it's almost like a branch of dermatology, but we specialize in the scalp and the hair, and we don't go any further than that. So our specialist area is the skin tissue, the scalp, and the hair follicles.
Brilliant. And Will, is this something you always wanted to do since you were a child? How did it come up in your life?
To be honest, no. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a child. I knew I wanted to do a craft. My father was a craftsman. He was a luthier. He used to handmade classical guitars. So I knew I wanted to do something in that area. Unfortunately, he passed away before I was old enough to be taught his skill. And that's when I moved into the hairdressing sector. And as I worked through that, I loved it. I loved the interaction with people, the ability, and the business dynamic in hairdressing is unbelievable as well. And I guess that trichology just was a natural extension because I'm a curious person. And if people ask me a question and if I don't have the answer, I go and try to find the answer for those people. And that's how I walked into trichology.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Now, let me ask you, who is the first person that comes to mind when you think about success?
My father, I think, easily. My father was very, very much futuristic thinker. He was very entrepreneurial. He was a woodwork teacher and just started to make a classical guitar just for fun. Turns out that one of his best friends was a concerto guitarist, a professional guitarist, played this guitar, said, Martin, that's brilliant. He goes, you should do that. You should make me one. So he did. And then that became his role. He then moved into becoming a luthier and he exported his guitars all over the world, and going in to see him in the workshop because he built a big extension to the house. So I used to watch him work all day, and it was really quite an amazing job. But sadly, he passed away, far too young for us as a family and far too young for the world. But he left that entrepreneurial spirit with us. He always told us to reach for the sky, go for your goals, all of that type of thing.
Beautiful. I love that. Very nice.
Yeah.
And tell us what changes do you have to make because of COVID?
So this changed the trichology clinics significantly through that period of time, because a lot of my meeting at that time was face to face, people coming in meeting, and we had to pivot really, really quickly, and video was, you know, sort of the next answer. Unbelievably, before COVID, if I talked to somebody about having a Zoom, they didn't know what that was. They didn't know what Zoom was at all. So I almost had to tell people what a Zoom video is. Following COVID, everyone knew what Zoom was, you know, because the world just changed that quickly.
Yeah.
So we pivoted to offer online videos. And what I found through practicing through that period, which was amazing, was 80% of the people that I met by video, I could actually treat them, you know, really successfully for the diagnosis that they had. So it set off a light bulb in my mind that actually, yeah, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10 people will need a clinical visit. But actually 7 to 8 out of 10 people could get the diagnosis and the treatment recommendations they require online. And that changed everything.
That's amazing. That trigger event has really made your business kind of grow exponentially. That's wonderful.
Yeah, this is what led me to set up my third business, which is Root Cause Clinical, which is completely separate to Trichology Scotland. I decided to do that because I didn't want people to be confused over the two different businesses. So Trichology Scotland is very much in person, and Root Cause Clinical is very much digital. And I was dabbling along at that, and I was doing okay, you know, but I needed somebody that knew what they were doing in the back end, the digital side of the business. So I have a long-standing friend of mine who's a client, and she works in the investment digital space and is very experienced in healthcare and tech. And she came on board about a year and a half ago and has just revolutionized where we've taken Root Cause Clinical just now. And it's fantastic. You know, we're very early adopters. I think we know that's the biggest challenge at this moment in time for us. The challenge is for people to feel comfortable that they can get the care they need online, and they don't always need to be in front of their practitioner.
Yeah. Okay. So what are your what is your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Oh God, there's so many. we learn all the time, don't we? I guess for me, cash flow absolutely is so important. I think if you're wanting to take a business to another step, understanding what's in the bank is so crucial, and what are you working through at that moment in time, and how much are you going to need to invest to get to the next step. And that, to me, that's absolutely critical. And I think that was driven into me really, really early, that, you know, if we don't have healthy cash flow, there is no business. And if you can't relax in business, this is another thing. And if you can't enjoy what your business is, it inhibits you. And I think by having a good understanding of your cash flow and the projections and what you think you can and cannot do at that point is critical, because then it allows your creativity to push through and actually start to develop a business, you know, and enjoy doing that. Otherwise, it becomes a hard slog when you just feel like you're surviving every day and you're not planning, you're just reacting.
Yes, I always say that numbers is the language of business.
Yes.
If you know your numbers, you know your business, and if you don't know your business. So
yeah, I totally agree. And I think that is a fundamental for every business. Doesn't matter, you know, what the business is, that's it. And we are there because we've chosen to be in business. And I think that, you know, you've always got to keep your mind on that. You know, why are you there? What made you start? And where are you in the journey? And I'm a big believer of just taking periods of reflection,
yes,
just to, you know, stand still for a bit. And actually going through one of those periods just now, I feel like I've been going really, really quickly, and I need a time just to absorb.
Yeah. Well, it's growth sucks cash, and people underestimate it. Growth sucks cash. And there is a great book, actually. I don't know if you read it, but it's Profit First.
No, I haven't seen this one.
It goes along the lines you are saying, you know, cash flow, and it's a great read for those watching this recording. So I really recommend that. Profit First, great book.
I've got to note that down myself as well.
Great, good, excellent. That means that you take action, which is
yes,
yeah,
always.
yes,
Brilliant. Thank you. Got it.
that's wonderful. So what are your aspiration, by the way, before I jump to the next question, have you got a book that you read and has made an impact in your life, in your business, that you would like to share with those watching the recording?
Oh yeah, I mean it's an oldie. I mean I think most people know about it, but Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People
Yes.
is always, one of my favorites. And Stephen R. Covey, 7 Habits of Highly
Yes.
Effective People. And the thing is, you go back to these books and you get another nugget out that you didn't really pull out last time, because I guess it depends on where you are on your journey,
Correct. Yeah.
is what information you need out of that book,
Yeah.
So those are my 2 go-tos that I really enjoy.
Getting both of them are on the shelf there. So yeah.
And I can't see that shelf, just in case anyone.
Yeah, definitely. So what are Will, what are your aspirations for the business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think the hairdressing side of things, the salons are doing very, very well. We've invested a lot, and my wife is now very much the kind of leader, driver of that business, and that frees me up to really focus into the trichology side of things. So really, what I want to do is expand and grow Root Cause Clinical. I think this is the growth project. Trichology Scotland is ultimately really successful as a consultancy business. However, as a single consultant, you're constrained by growth by the amount of time you can invest into that consultancy. Whereas what we're doing with Root Cause Clinical is we are bringing in a suite of trichologists from all over the UK that can actually practice online and both physically. So what we've got here is something that can grow exponentially by having in-person clinics and digital clinics. So digitally, we meet people all over the world. I've done videos from people in the USA, people in Hong Kong, and also what we can now start to offer is from next year is people being able to find a clinic near them, whether it's northwest of England, northeast of England, London, southwest Scotland. And I guess that's the big project, growing that side of the business.
No, wow. Is that a franchise? Are you going to franchise this, or what is the model for you?
No, at the moment it will be, most trichologists have their own practices, so they are, standalone consultants, but a lot often feel isolated. They feel that they're on their own in their own little world. So the idea of Root Cause is we can have this whole connection point as well, where trichologists can discuss. So we'll have education webinars in the background of it. We'll have Q&A sessions as well as that. But I think that they will still be their own independent trichologist working under the umbrella of Root Cause Clinical. However, there will be buy-in options for people that are interested in investing in the Root Cause Clinical concept, that want to have more of a financial input into that. That is something that we're going to start to discuss in the early part of 2024, the option of investment into the business.
Brilliant. Okay, so a lot of things happening for you. What are the biggest issues that you had to overcome in your journey?
So I think the biggest issue is where we are right now with regards to Root Cause Clinical. Again, Trichology Scotland is mature, it's working really well, and there's lots of traffic coming in. The salons are really mature, there's lots of traffic coming in. With Root Cause Clinical, I think the biggest challenge for us is converting people to feel confident to meet a trichologist through a video consultation and get what they are looking for. I think we're very early adopter in this section. Whilst a lot of businesses will offer video, this is specifically set up to be video, and the software and the things that my business partner Victoria has built is really, really fantastic. So it's very slick. So it's now the challenge is converting people to buy video rather than face to face, and because it's so much more convenient for people. But again, the challenge is getting people to understand that opportunity.
Brilliant. No, that's I can get that. Yes. So what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business?
I would say go for it as long as you are completely committed and passionate for what you want to do, and realize why you're doing that. You're putting yourself into a whole new world. You're taking away certain specific safety nets that people maybe have when they're employed rather than going self-employed. But, then you also have the freedom to move yourself to wherever you want to be. But I think that, think it out, really think it out and decide, don't just go into it, plan where you want to be, over a period of time. So you can then start to really get an assessment of how well you're doing in that business. And when you're immersed into it, after about 6 months, you're so immersed in the business that you forget that you look from the outside sometimes. So again, I would always say to people that are in business, do take time to just step back from your business and just assess it and just see, is it delivering what you expected it to deliver? And are you enjoying the investment that you're putting in time into that business as well?
Yeah, well, it resonates very, very much to the way I think, actually. I always say, think, plan, act. So
Yeah.
design the business. And you mentioned about passion and commitment. There is another great book called this one here. You may have read it, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes. I can't believe I never mentioned that one.
Yes.
Another, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I do find with these books is, you've actually made me, I'm going to go back to that one because I've got that one sitting upstairs. Because again, and each time I go in, there's more pencil marks through it,
Yes.
so I
Yes.
used to go through with highlighters, but I've got so many highlight colors into it, I decided to
Yes.
go with pencil and
Yes.
stuff. But yeah,
Well,
brilliant book.
yeah.
And
For
always relevant.
Yeah, no, definitely. For those watching this recording, message us directly. If you want to save reading this book, there are 2 ingredients to achieve your goals. Okay, 2 ingredients. So anyway, if you read the book, you'll find out. Otherwise, we are happy to share that with you in social media. There you go. So,
Fantastic.
Will, what if you started your business again? What would you do differently?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it? Um, what would I do again? I think that um, I would maybe think even bigger than I did think. Initially with trichology, I had no idea, no idea, didn't know how it was going to go, what it was going to do. Started with a very simple website and started with a Facebook page and off I went, and that was great. And I think that had I thought about it and planned it out a little bit more, I could have probably accelerated the business more quickly than I did. I was very, very trepidatious, if that's the right word. I was kind of cautious, and that was okay. But what I had to work out was because any minute that I spent in Trichology Scotland was a minute away from the businesses that I already had. So I had to really, sort of evaluate moving sideways. Was that adding or was it taking away to kind of our quality of life and what we were doing? So I think a bit more kind of thought and planning at that stage would have been great. But having said that, once it started to move, then I started to get the kind of ambition and see the opportunity.
Yes, I mean you live and learn. So to
Yeah.
get that and to have learned that early in life is a big. You look very young, so
Oh,
yeah,
that
you've got
must be.
some maybe yeah. It's great insight. Um,
I'm 53, about to go to 54 at the start of next
and
year. So
when I'm 54, close to 55, so we are kind
there
of.
we go. Same age.
But you look a lot younger. Maybe I need the.
No, you've got a youthful face, definitely.
Yes, yes. And I love the mantra you can do along the lines you said, you can do anything but not everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's basically prioritizing, the high value activity and the goals you want to pursue. No, definitely. One final question from my side. Do you have any advice for your 18-year-old self?
well, yeah, I guess I do. I think probably I would say respect money more would be to myself, I'm not money driven. Do you know what I mean? But I do understand that money gives us choices, and it allows us to make decisions in a way that we want to make them. So I've always been highly energetic, and anything that I get involved in, I'm committed to. I genuinely mean that. You know, I'm an all-in kind of person. However, I probably haven't invested in my future myself as much as what I could have. You know, I've earned money and I've spent money, and I've earned money and I've spent money, and that's been actually great. And believe me, I've had some fantastic times. So, and I'm kind of getting to that stage now where I'm starting to think about, you know, right, what does the next 20 years look like? Which is actually really quite an enjoyment of looking at that. So I think, yeah, I think at 18, do think about what you want your life to look like at 58, maybe, you know, and you know, what you want to be doing at that time, and start to build financially and plan for that as well. I'm lucky enough to have good financial basis to me, but I think about all the income over the years and you think, wow.
Yes. Well, on that note, I will. It's yet another book. Talking to you, you made me think of books. I haven't you know, I put them just on the. Have you read this one?
Is this Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yes.
Yeah. I've never read that one. I've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert.
The Quadrant, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That book, for anybody watching this, is a must. And what you said, Will, just resonated with me. Why? Because I read, we are similar age, okay? I read the book when I came to Glasgow. I used to live in Manchester as well, by the way. I came to Glasgow 18 years ago. I read this book, and after reading this book, I bought my first property.
Yeah.
The month after reading the book, and for 18 years, I've been building the portfolio. So again, if you want to think about money, spend, make, invest.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is, and you know, sometimes you think I just want to go and use that, but yeah, invest in it, and it's very exciting to see how that investment works as well.
Yes, that's wonderful. Well, very inspiring, Will.
Thank you.
May I ask you, do you have any news or offers you would like to share those watching this recording?
Well, you know, what we're going to be doing is really from the start of 2024 is really expanding the root cause clinical offering. So I think that, you know, wherever you're watching this from, whether it's globally or, you know, within the UK, root cause clinical can offer really great solution and diagnosis. And, you know, there's no boundaries to that. You can meet us and you can meet qualified trichologists digitally, online, anytime, and we're going to have, you know, a 24-hour working pattern, 7 days a week, and we have trichologists that even speak different languages. So, you know, go to the site, have a look, and if you know people that are worried about their scalp and their hair, then please do get in touch, because we really understand the emotional connection that there is when we're worried about our hair or scalp, and you'll be well looked after from an amazing team.
Brilliant. We will be putting your website along the recording for people to access it there. That's brilliant. Well, Will, what can I say? It's been a pleasure having you on board with us today, and for sharing your experience, wisdom, and candor. So thank you so much.
Thank you.